Hey family, welcome to the Campbell-Paige experience. I'm so glad that you're joining us on today, and I have my friends here with me. I have Meagan and I have Cami with us, and as you see, I'm on the other side today, so Cami is our host on today. So I'll just put it in your hands, Cami.
Thanks, Tam. So today's topic, we're just going to be talking about the loss of a mother, and I think it's important that we share that because there's so many people that are going through it, and I believe the stories of these two beautiful women is going to change and help change and influence the way people navigate that situation today. So we'll just roll right into it. So Meagan, first question, you lost your mom at such a young age, and so can you just tell us a little bit about that, maybe how you navigated your thoughts and your feelings during that situation and during that time?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say my thoughts were navigated. I was 17. I honestly feel the opposite, where at least I got my childhood with her, because like my little sisters didn't. So I do feel like, yeah, I was young, but I had my childhood, and that was like the most important part to have with your parent. And so yeah, I didn't navigate it well at first. It's almost like when she passed away is when I got my butt in gear. And it was when she was going through cancer is when I was being a teenager making bad decisions, to deal with it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like her passing away almost like completely just changed my mindset with life, and yeah, it kind of was like a turning point.
Right, and then on top of that, you have a huge family to help you go through a lot of things, and because you have a big family, sometimes that's hard, sometimes that's easy, but how did that affect your entire family as a whole? How did you guys transition from having such a beautiful mom there and then having to navigate family life without her, maybe?
So I would say I feel like my family's not like a typical family, just because no one's super emotional. And if someone is emotional about something, no one shares it. So growing up in a family where you just kind of kept your emotions to yourself, I didn't really see how my siblings grieved at all. But at the end of the day, it was like whatever, if someone needed help, you helped. And they're still like, we're all still like that today. Like if someone needs to do something for another sibling, we do it.
Right.
And so I will say, like, I have siblings still grieving who have not healed, who are struggling.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's siblings who, like, are totally at peace. You know, everyone has a different personality and goes through grief in a different way. So, yeah, we're still kind of watching that today, almost 10 years later, just, you know, it's still affecting everyone in a different way.
Yeah. And then, Tam, you also lost your mom.
Yes.
At a really young age. Can you, again, just like Meagan just did, share with us a little bit about how you managed and how you went through that?
Yes, well, I was 15 years old when I lost my mom, but she had ALS, so because she lost her speech at such a young age, a few years prior to that, I kind of feel like I kind of lost my mom by like 13 because we couldn't really interact with each other much. So that was hard because my mom and I, we were best friends. We were very close. I think I had a little bit of separation anxiety growing up because like if she wasn't present, I always wanted to be home. I couldn't stay with my friends. Like if I stayed with a friend, like they would have to bring me back in the middle of the night because I wanted my mom. So we were very, very close. She got sick, and how I dealt with it is I acted like it didn't exist. And I didn't really know that I was doing that, but I would avoid her. Anything that I didn't mind being silly around her, but anything because she was, what the illness did to her, she fell a lot. And so if something happened and people were trying to help her, I would just kind of bust past and just ignore it or just kind of get angry that it was happening. I wouldn't bring attention to it. Like everybody in our family would help her with her feeding tube, and I wouldn't. And because of that, I dealt with a lot because I felt like everybody kind of had a goodbye. The day she passed away, she went to the dentist's office. She passed away at the dentist's office. And it was so crazy. My grandmother and my mom sat in front of sat on the porch, and she couldn't talk, but my grandmother was just talking about different memories, and my mom was just kind of like laughing, and she could still kind of like talk, but if you weren't my grandmother or my little brother, you really didn't understand her.
Right.
And my brother and my sister, who were 7 and 4 at the time, each time one would go out and be, bye mommy, and the next one, bye mommy, bye mommy, and it was just like, and they just kept saying, go inside, go with your sister. And I always say, like, and I was just too busy planning my Sweet 16 party to even acknowledge my mom that morning because they were already outside.
Yeah.
And I don't let that bother me, but it was just, I just detached myself from my best friend because I didn't want to believe what was happening and that I was losing my mom. And so I didn't even value that time with her. And after she passed, I still did the same thing for it literally probably took a decade. Like, I'm just walking through the process of healing and actually grieving, not laughing it off. I would kind of laugh it off if someone else in my family was sad about it. My sister would cry. She was 7, she missed her mom. And my grandma was like, oh, go to your sister, hug her, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, just because I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to act like it didn't happen. Just like I wanted to act like her sickness didn't happen, I wanted to act like her death didn't happen. And so literally it took a decade for me to realize that I didn't deal with the pain. I didn't talk about it. I had to realize it happened, and I have to walk through that.
Right. And that's healthy to walk through it.
Yes.
And so just that coping mechanism that you had up, that front you put up, that kind of goes right into the next question. And you kind of maybe touched on it just a little bit, but how did that affect you mentally?
Yeah, well, I guess mentally at the time, I just kind of acted like it didn't exist.
Right.
But I would say some actions that I saw in myself, or definitely see now looking back, is that I was very worried, and I think that's when my anxiety started happening. I mean, I still do it, but I'm much better. I felt so sorry for my grandmother later, because it was like I didn't want her to do anything, because it was like I was afraid if she went somewhere, something was gonna happen to her, and I was gonna lose her. And I was kind of putting her in this place like TaMeria, I've got to go places, I got to do something, I got to live my life, so I know that was a thing. I was so worried of losing the people close to me. And I also had to kind of deal with, this is kind of something I probably would never want to say, but deal with my attachment issues,
Oh, wow.
because I am an affectionate person. My family has always been affectionate, but it's I feel like I don't know how to deal with life emotionally if I'm not affectionate with my loved ones, if I don't have them close, or if my family members aren't okay, I don't know how to cope with life. I've gotten really attached, and it's sometimes it's unhealthy. And so I just want everybody to be happy. I want to, because I'm afraid of losing people, whether it's through death, whether they're going to walk away, and I know that's that fear of, because I was the only sibling out of 3 that didn't have a dad. Well, obviously I have a father, but that didn't know my father. So for me, when I lost my mom, I was like, I'm an orphan. When I lost my mom and I was at the funeral, my brother's dad was there, my sister's dad was there. And I'm my only parent is in a casket right now, So that's just kind of, and these are things that now I'm just seeing. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, okay, I see these things in myself, and something I don't want to change that I'm affectionate. I don't want to change that I care about my family members, but also it's a lot for them, to make them feel that way, or to feel, if they're having a rough day, to feel like I can't function, so then they're like I'm just having a rough day, I'm human, I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of embarrassing for me to share attachment, because I never want people to think, but those are just things that I'm seeing and walking through. So I feel like that's how it's affected me mentally. But I think being intentional about seeing those things now for me is what's helping me to walk through those things and be a healthier me.
So that takes a lot to be like, this is what I'm doing wrong, this is what I need to do to fix it.
It's funny, I didn't realize, I know we have so much in common with our backgrounds, but when you brought up that you detach yourself, I didn't know that, and I did the same thing where I literally was I was partying and doing all this stuff, being a rebellious teenager, but it was to avoid what was going on at home. But I realized that I was never there. Well, she had cancer, because I didn't want to see it. And the other part was my like taking care of my little sisters, when I didn't have to do that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go out with my friends. But I didn't realize like what I was missing by not being there. I just was trying to avoid it, trying to be a teenager at the same time without being a mom to my siblings all the time. And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I missed so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like curious now, like, is that a natural reaction for like a teenager to do? Like,
I think
I thought it was just me. And then when you said you did it, I was like, oh, you avoided the situation too. That's so interesting. And I didn't realize how our both of like my youngest sister and your sister, your not your youngest sibling, but they both were around the same age when our moms died too. Because Monica was 6 and
she was 7. Lauren was 7. Yeah.
So I didn't
We're
realize
twins.
that either.
That's why we call each other twins. We're like, why do you steal my life?
We are.
Well, Meagan, that rolls right into the next question. You've already touched on this one too. You know, you guys both made a huge decision to raise and help raise your younger siblings, your sisters. So can you share, I mean, Meagan, you've already touched on it, but if you want to touch on it some more and maybe share how you guys, a little bit about that and how you did it, how you maneuvered it, how you, even to today, you know, or...
The Lord.
Right? It's Jesus. I hear that.
Ours was not like planned. I got a call from one of my older sisters saying, we need to like get Monica out of the house with Dad because he is just not, he's not an emotionally healthy person. It's not that she was in a home where it was filled with like, there was no physical abuse or anything, but there's a lot of emotional and verbal abuse. And I think people really downplay that because when they hear abuse, it's physical, and it's like no, emotional and mental abuse, verbal abuse, all of it can be sometimes worse than physical abuse because words speak louder than actions, as some people say. And so that's kind of was the case of like, she's not doing well there. Like emotionally, we need to get her out. And me and my husband were the option because a lot of my siblings don't live here and we could keep her in the same school. We just got married. I was 21 and we were like, okay,
let's do it.
She was 11 at the time. And she was super awesome and sweet. And then within like a year, oh, she's a teenager. It happened pretty quick. But yeah, we had her for 5 years. I think the challenging part was like not trying to be her parents because we weren't and we didn't want to be that. But also knowing like, I think it was more on her, it was harder for her because like our dad lives down the road and wasn't a parent to her. Even if she lived with him, he wasn't being a parent. And so she's kind of in that situation now where she just wants her parent to take care of her. She was bullied for it and stuff. And so she was like, I'm going back to Dad's even though it's not healthy because she wants him to take care of her. So that's kind of what happened. It's just, I don't blame her for not wanting to be with us forever.
Right, you totally get, like we all get it.
So yeah, it's not that, I mean, it wasn't, I would say like for us, me and my husband to navigate that, we did pretty good for how young we were, and nothing crazy happened, nothing bad happened. It was enjoyable. It was just frustrating a lot having a teenage sister because we were still sisters and still butt heads. So I think that's all it was, is, you know, there was no parent there to like come between you, the two sisters butting heads.
I never thought of that.
Nikki did that. He took care of it when we were butting heads. But yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we still enjoyed having her, and we still want to be able to take care of her, but no, like, it's just not what she wants. And, you know, stepping back from that role and being okay with it, just, she's not at an age right now where it's like she's 12 or 13 where it's like, no, you can't go there, we need to protect you. She's 17 now. So we're like, okay, if that's the decision you want to make, and, you know, kind of let her do her thing, and she needs to figure her life out. So
yep, and she will.
Yeah,
she will.
Oh, yeah.
She will.
Yeah, we know we went through stuff, so I think everyone, you know, goes through stuff, and you figure it out one day. hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, true. Well, Tam, how about you want to share a little bit on how it was to raise your little brothers and sister?
Yeah, so I mainly raised my sister. Because my brother went with his father, but I did have some time with him at the in his last couple years as a teenager, and it was a challenge. And I could see when things shifted from, like, she's my bratty little sister that I'm taking care of to, like, she's my kid. So it was, like, a little different because something kind of, like, shifted in me. And I could tell because she wasn't annoying anymore, but, like, I started worrying about things. When she would get into drama or she'd have problems, I was, like, all over the place, like, I need to fix it and I need to take care of her because I probably just think I need to fix things anyways. And then, like, it was just parent mode. I, like, switched over. And I think for me, two of the most challenging things is that when I was young, and I mean, no parent has the perfect book that's going to teach them how to be the perfect parent, but when you're so young and you're figuring out things yourself, you have to be so careful because everything you say and do to a child can affect them. I think a lot of the things we go through is because of our childhood. And one of the hardest things that I've had to walk through is that because I was young, sometimes I was harder on her, sometimes I yelled at her, sometimes I said things out of anger, and I realized that now I can look back and I'm like, I was emotionally abusive. And it's so hard when you see them go through their teenage years, and when she got out of high school, just the different challenges that she went through, and you start blaming yourself as a sister, as a parent, because you remember the things that you said, and when you see them in a bad place mentally, you're like, I was a part of the things that's going through your head now that makes you how you are now, you know. And it takes a long time to walk through, and I'm still walking through that process of, like, I don't want to say no, it's not your fault, because I'm sure there are some things that are my fault. There are some words that I may have said that have affected her. But one thing, just as I have changed and I have healed and I am free, like, she's going to change, she's going to be healed, and she's going to be free. And I've been praying, and I have been told by multiple people what God said, and that He was going to take care of my sister and my brother, and I had to take my hands off of it. And I'm seeing it now. No, she's not perfect. No, she's not living the life I would like her to live, but she's not where she was, and I'm realizing I have to trust God with her. The other thing is that the hard thing is that you lose your sister, because just like you see other people that are, like, really close with their sisters and they're, like, best friends and stuff, it is so hard to try to be best friends with the person that used to whoop your butt, take your cell phone and put you on punishment, and go to all your parent-teachers conferences and email your teachers. It is so hard. And then on my end, it is so hard to try to be her friend and her sister when she says something that she does, or says something like an adult, and I want to be like, you better not say that word. And I'm like, ooh, she's 23. You know, so it's hard, but I do believe, because it's the desire of my heart, that God will give it to us. It takes some time on both of our ends. She's got to get used to, okay, she cannot ground me now, I'm grown. And I have to get used to, I can't tell her what to do, because I gave it to God. So it was a challenge, but it was rewarding, and it taught me so much how to be a parent. And I may not know how to do that infant thing, but I tell people, I think I got that teenage thing down pat now. Like, I got it now.
So Meagan, when you're ready, just,
when Jesus brings my husband, then.
Well, we'll roll right into the next question. This is for both of you girls. How has such a huge loss played a role in how you have become the woman you are today?
You want to go?
I guess I could go first. I think for myself, I think I value life and the people around me much more. I'm much more intentional about just loving on my loved ones. I'm intentional about just telling them how much I love them, even if it's multiple times a day, hugging them multiple times a day, you know what I mean? And even if I have an altercation, if I'm upset, I can't hold on to it. Like I just need a couple minutes, maybe an hour, and I'm like, I get back really quickly, you know what I mean? And it's easier if you can talk it through, you know what I mean? And everybody needs their time, but I just bounce back easily, because I understand that just 24 hours of not talking to your loved one maybe the last memory you have of them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You know, not taking the time to just talk to you, even if we are a little irritated with each other. You know, if I miss out that opportunity of saying I love you or how are you,
Yep.
genuinely, I may not get that opportunity again. And what for? Something so small. You know, so I think I just value my family members and my loved ones and my friends more, and it's just, it's not that serious. We can talk it through, we can heal, we can get better, but I just can't go long periods of time without loving on people, and just, I think forgiveness becomes just a little easier for me, because
Right.
I don't want that to ever happen again, where I'm so busy or I'm just so upset that because life is so short. People are dying all ages. I can't miss that ever again if I can help it. So I think that's...
Yeah, well, I feel that. I might have to take that little piece of advice from you. So if no one gets anything, at least I got that, right?
Absolutely.
No people are going to get stuff from this. I believe that. Meagan?
So I don't feel like I was like, oh, I got this and this and this from it. I think it's just like it happened, and so like I matured quickly, and me maturing quickly helped me become who I am. I do, so like this, there's like no like proof of this, but I really feel like if my mom was still alive, I probably wouldn't be, I feel like I wouldn't be like involved in church or anything. Because I like was super involved, and then she got cancer, and I went through my phase and got uninvolved, and then came back when she died. And my family isn't really super involved with church. And so I honestly feel like I might have, it's hard to explain because it's not that it's about her and it's on her, but like I just feel like maybe like I would have went through the typical phase of just leaving God or church as you become an adult and go to college, and I would have went through the same motions as my siblings of just like you live that typical like how society like says we should live our lives. And so I feel like her passing away and then me going back to church really like made me stick to it in a way. And it again, it's not that she had anything to do with that before me coming or not. And it's just weird, but it's like a feeling like I'm like, I just feel like I wouldn't be like who I am today. Like I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. I can't think of certain things right now, but like I wouldn't have learned the things and like experienced the things I experienced. Gosh, my life after she passed away, the things I experienced like really taught me a lot of lessons with guys and just with just different things in life. And so like I don't feel like I would be married to Nikki because I wouldn't have looked for a man like that, because I would have never lived with my boyfriend who I lived with after she passed away and learned, oh, I don't want a man like this. Like that experience really helped me know who I want, like what I wanted in a man. I would have never lived with him if my mom didn't pass away. I would have stayed home until I went to college. And so like I feel like that lineup of like that, you know, that mistake of living with him and like thinking I was going to be with him, like that experience really made me realize like, oh, this is who I am, this is what I want in a man, and that changed my life forever. Right. And yeah, I don't know, I just feel like God, like things happen. Like Nikki wasn't supposed to stay around here. He was supposed to go to Towson, and then like last minute, like a month before college started, he was like, I'm not going to Towson. Like, so I feel like just like I wouldn't have dated him because he would have been at Towson most of the time. So I just feel like things like that, like God kind of aligns things. And I think, you know, people going through loss, if they feel like it didn't help them as a person, I think it's like, look at the things that it did, like what you got from it. Even like I wouldn't go, oh, if I could take back time, I would have her live, because I'm like, that was part of God's plan. And again, it made me who I am and changed me. And so I wouldn't change that she's not here. And I think part of that is I just have such a peace because I know she's in heaven. Right. So like I'm, for some people, oddly at peace about it, but I'm not worried and she's not sick. So I'm like, that's how I'm living my life. Like, hey, she's in heaven. So I'm not going to like sit on that. I'm not going to sit on all the things I couldn't have changed.
And he always does that, even though when it's wild and crazy here and we're freaking out, like your whole life, literally your whole life was moved off course to where you are today. And I'm sure your mom's looking down like, you go girl, look at you, you know? So I think that's awesome that you can take that and learn from it and each of you be the women you are today. I think it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, like Tameria said, we learned how to be parents young,
Yeah.
so.
Right? We're going to have it now.
You guys are set. That's awesome, seriously. So we'll go into the last question. And Tameria, we'll start with you. What would you tell your younger self knowing what you know now?
Oh.
Heavy question.
Well, Tam. I think I would just tell my younger self, allow yourself to feel what you feel. It's okay.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to feel it. Release it. It's okay to cry. Like, there's nothing wrong with crying. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're weak. As much of a crybaby as I am, like, I don't know what it was. It was like, it was a sign of weakness. That doesn't mean I'm strong. It doesn't mean I'm looking out for, So I would just tell myself, like, allow yourself to feel and talk to someone. Talk to someone, Allow someone to walk you through this process. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Going to therapy and using resources you need to get through it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think, know what your resources are, because, like, I didn't go to therapy then, and I should have, but I still had, like, my family who is not my family, like, church family, like, they're my family. And so having that, like, a support system, knowing, like, do I have a support system? Like, when I'm going through something hard, how do I get a support system? And what does that look like? And, like, even if you have that and you still need to go to therapy, it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get something different from it, no matter who you talk to. I could talk to you guys about the same thing, and you're going to give me different advice. So I kind of see it that way. Like, it never hurts to find someone to confide in.
Well, family, I just thank you for joining us. Meagan, Cami, first of all, these are my girls, so it's just easy just to talk with them. But I pray that you have received something from this and that it has impacted your life. Whether you have lost a parent, and it doesn't have to just be a mother, it can be a father, or whether you know someone and you can share with them and encourage them and understand how to be there for them. I just pray that you have been encouraged and your life has been impacted. Thank you for joining us for season 1, and please join us back in the spring for season 2. We are so excited to continue this journey. So just remember, these are real women, real stories, real power. Thank you. See you next season.